Welcome to this video by Resident Tech Work. Today we're going to be looking at displaying an icon and text above an object. This is commonly used for interaction with objects in games. I'm going to show you how to add these to an object and have them appear and disappear when you approach or move away from the item. So let's get started. First, let's create an object. In the content folder of your Unreal project, create a new folder, and I'll call it iActions. And open the folder. Now for this I'm going to be using the military water bottle from the Quixel assets from the Fab store. So let's import that to my project. Once it has opened, you'll find it under a Fab folder. Now what I will do is I'll go into the meshes here, because it's got a strange name. I'll just go in and rename it. Let's rename it as water bottle. Now back in the folder I've just created, I'll right click and select Blueprint Class, Actor, and call this new item BP_item. Open that up. And add a static mesh. And over in the mesh field, search for that water bottle I've just created. There we go. And then bring in a sphere collision. And the details panel, change the radius of that to 50. The radius there is just a bit small. Now if I go into the event graph, and if I go to the sphere in the menu at the side there, and right click on the sphere, and select an event, and that is on component begin overlap, and then click on there again and select on component end overlap. Now one thing I do here is to add in the variables a variable called pickable, which is a boolean. This is just to make when you go to program later on, it's an easier thing to pick up and check and make sure you've actually found the item. Now on the end overlap you should set that to false. I've actually forgot to do that in this. But now we need to add the icon and text to the item, so back to the main, our main folder, and create another widget. Go to User Interface, Widget Blueprint, and User Widget, and then we'll call it WB Pick Icon. Open that up. I'll add a canvas panel. And then we'll add a vertical box on top of that. And then the details panel, if you go to the anchors and select the center, and change position X to 0, position Y to 0, and the alignments to 0.5 on each side. And put a tick in the size to content box. Now if we drag in an image, now in here we want to put the icon that we're going to see on the screen. Now I've actually found an icon on the pixabay.com which I'll use, just that P there. So what we'll do is I'll drag that into our main folder, into the Actions folder. Now once that comes in, I'll just save all and then go back to the widget blueprint and search for that icon item. There we go. Now it comes in a bit big, so I'll go into the size there and change that to 50 by 50. And if I zoom in, you'll be able to see that a bit better. Next thing we want to do is to bring in a text item. And make sure that's in the vertical box. And in the text, change the actual text to pick up. Now that looks a bit squashed there, so I'll change that actually to 75 by 75. And that's, yep, that looks a bit better. So compile and save that. We come back to our item. In the components field, we want to add a widget. Now in the details panel, if we search for the class and we want to change that class to the widget blueprint we just created, pick icon. We also then want to search for space. We want to change that to screen. Now, if I look in the event graph, down on the bottom left hand side, we now have a reference to the widget. So pull that in and get that variable. And then we want to pull out and search for set visibility. And for the begin overlap, we want that to be true, so we've got it visible. And then the end overlap, we want it to be false. So we'll just copy it across and just change that visibility, take that tick out. Finally, from the nodes that were available on the event graph when we started, go up to the top and find the event begin play node. And I want to drag that down below the end overlap and connect it to the false visibility. This is simply so that when we start playing, the icon and text aren't visible straight away. So compile and save. Now if we come back to the default scene and we'll drag the item into the scene. And just bring that up a wee bit. And then save all. And we can press play. And as you can see, the bottle's there. And as we move towards it, the icon appears and it disappears when we move away. Now the icon and text are actually in front of the item, which is not great. So if we come back to the item and in the viewport, just pull that widget up, clear of the bottle. Compile and save. When we play again, go towards the bottle. And that should look a bit better. Yep, that's a bit better. You can see that you can still see the bottle. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.